How's it going, Forex traders? My name is Kuba, and in this video, I'll be showing you how to easily denote Forex market sessions. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. We have 4 different major sessions in the Forex market. We have the London session, we have the New York session, we have the Tokyo session, and we have the Sydney session. So why is Forex market session important? Forex market session is important because there are periods whereby the market is very volatile, and there are periods whereby the market is less volatile. So London session and New York session are the sessions that are very volatile, while Sydney session and Tokyo session are the periods that are less volatile. And as a forex trader, you should take your trades during sessions that are very volatile. That is during London session and New York session. So when does London session start? When does New York session start? When does Sydney session start? And when does Tokyo session start? So I'm currently in Nigeria, and London session starts by 9 a.m. Nigerian time, and it ends by 6 p.m. Nigerian time. New York session starts by 2 p.m. Nigerian time and ends by 11 p.m. Nigerian time. You might be in Ghana, you might be in Korea, you might be in any country around the world, you might be in South Africa, anywhere at all. And your time zone and my time zone might not be different, might not be the same. So you should know when London session opens, when New York session opens, the time in your time zone. You should know when London session open, when New York session open, when Sydney session open, and when Tokyo session open. But mind you, pay attention to London session and New York session because that's the busiest forex market session. In this video, I'll be showing you how to easily tell when London session open in your time, when New York session open in your time, when Sydney session open in your time, and when Tokyo session open in your time. To be able to do this, I need you to understand 2 major things. One thing you should understand is that each forex market session lasts for 9 hours. And also, each forex market session opens by 8 a.m. and closes by 6 p.m. in that session time. Take note, each forex market session lasts for 9 hours, then each session opens by 8 a.m. and closes by 5 p.m. For instance, London session opens by 8 a.m. London time and closes by 5 p.m. London time. If you check, it's 9 hours. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 9 hours. Then Sydney session opens by 8 a.m. Sydney time and closes by 5 p.m. Sydney time. New York session opens by 8 a.m. New York time and closes by 5 p.m. New York time. Then Tokyo session opens by 8 a.m. Tokyo time and closes by 5 p.m. Tokyo time. So now, you might not be in London, you might not be in New York, you might not be in Sydney, you might not be in Tokyo, you might not be in any of these cities I just mentioned. So how do you then know when it's 8 a.m. London time so that you can take your trades during London session? And how do you know when it's 8 a.m. New York time so that I can take your trade during New York session? So I'll be showing you a particular method on how to do this. It's very easy. So all you have to do now is to go to your mobile phone, then you go to your clock. You go to your clock. So you go to this section of your clock, which is the world clock. You go to your world clock. Perfect. So right here now, you will add. Currently, I'm in Nigeria. The time is actually 17:47. That's 5:47 p.m. And that's Lagos time. That's currently Lagos time, my time. So I will just have to add these cities. I will add New York. I'll add New York. Then I will add Tokyo. Then I will add Sydney. So I have Sydney, New York, London. Okay, Tokyo has not been added. I'll add Tokyo. Tokyo in Japan. Add. So I've added. Then this is my own time. Let me just remove this one, Lagos, because my time is showing here West African standard time. So after you've added all this time, I'm sure you can do this very easy. Just go to your world clock, then you add Tokyo, you add Sydney, you add New York, and you add London. These are the 4 major forex market session. So remember I told you that you should pay attention to London session and New York session because they are the busiest. Yeah, London session and New York session are the busiest. You should be taking your trades in London session and New York session. So now take note. I told you that you should take note that each session lasts for 9 hours and each session starts by 8 a.m. that particular city time and closes by 5 p.m. that particular city time. So if you check it now, this is London, and London time currently is 16:49, and my time here is actually 17:49. Then New York time is London is actually 1 hour behind. New York is 6 hours behind. New York time is 11:49 a.m. in New York. Then Sydney time is actually 3:49 a.m. Then then Tokyo is actually 1:49 a.m. So Tokyo is 8 hours ahead of my time. They're in tomorrow already. Sydney is 10 hours ahead of my time. New York is 6 hours behind. They're actually 11 a.m. We are currently in 5 p.m. Then London is 1 hour behind. So now, how can you tell when London session will open? So London session opens when it's 8 a.m. London time. New York session opens when it's 8 a.m. New York time. Sydney session opens when it's 8 a.m. Sydney time. Tokyo session opens when it's 8 a.m. Tokyo time. I don't know if you understood that. London session, let me repeat it. London session opens when it's 8 a.m. London time. New York session opens when it's 8 a.m. New York time. Sydney session opens when it's 8 a.m. Sydney time. Then Tokyo session opens when it's 8 a.m. Tokyo time. So now, what does this mean? Since London is 1 hour behind Nigeria, they are 1 hour behind Nigeria, and London session opens 8 a.m. London time. It means that in my time, London session will open by 9 a.m. Then New York session is the time in New York is currently 11:50 a.m. They are 6 hours behind us. So which means when it was 8 a.m. New York time, that's when New York session opened. So if we should try to look at this now, it means that New York session opened by, since the time is currently 11:50, it means that New York session opened 8 a.m. So let's try to go backward. 11, 10, 9, 8. It means that New York session opens 3 hours ago. Yeah, 3 hours ago. So our time is currently 5 p.m. 17:51, 5 p.m. So if we should count 3 hours back, that's when New York session opened. So let's count 3 hours behind. 5, 4, 3, 2. That means New York session opened by 2 p.m. my time. When it was 8 a.m. New York time, it was 2 p.m. my time. Then Sydney session opened. Sydney session is currently the time in Sydney is currently 3:51 a.m. They are 10 hours ahead of us. That means let's check when it was 8 a.m. When it will be 8 a.m. Sydney time, what will be my time in Nigeria? They are currently in 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. 8 a.m. is 5 hours ahead. So 5 hours ahead in my time, what will be the time? My time is currently 5 p.m. now. So let's count 5 hours ahead of my time. 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. It means that Sydney session opens by 10 p.m. my time. I don't know if you understand that. Then Tokyo session is Tokyo is currently, the time in Tokyo is currently 1:52 a.m. and they are 8 hours ahead of us. So it means that Tokyo session opens by 8 a.m. So let's count how many hours from now till 8 a.m. The time is 1:52 a.m. in Tokyo. So from 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. 7 hours time. It will be 8 a.m. in Tokyo. So 7 hours time, what's going to be the time in my own time in Nigeria? Time is 5 p.m. 7 hours. Let's add 7 hours to 5 p.m. 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 a.m. So it means that when Tokyo session opens by 8 a.m., when the time is 8 a.m. in Tokyo, my time will be 12 a.m. in Nigeria. I don't know if you are getting this. So with this word clock, you can easily denote when one session is starting and when one session is ending. So remember I told you that each session lasts for 9 hours each. So it means that when London session opens by 8 a.m. London time, it will close by 5 p.m. London time. And when it's 8 a.m. London time, my time in Nigeria, since I'm 1 hour I'm 1 hour ahead of London, my time in Nigeria will be 9 a.m. Nigerian time. So it means that London session opens in my own time Nigeria. London session opens by 9 a.m. and closes by 6 p.m. That's 9 hours. 9 hours interval. So New York session opens by 8 a.m. in New York time, and New York is 6 hours behind. And when it's 8 a.m. in New York, we are 6 hours ahead of New York. When it's 8 a.m. in New York, let me count 6 hours ahead. 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. So 6 hours ahead. when it's 8 a.m. in New York, it's actually 2 p.m. in Nigeria, which means that New York session opens by 2 p.m. Nigerian time, and it closes in 9 hours time. So from 2 p.m., let's count 9 hours from 2 p.m. 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and 11 p.m. It means that New York session opens by 2 p.m. Nigerian time and closes by 11 p.m. Nigerian time. Then moving over to Sydney session now. Sydney is 10 hours ahead. When it's 8 a.m., when it's 8 a.m. in Sydney, we are going to be 10 hours behind. So counting 10 hours behind now, when it's 8 a.m. in Sydney, 8 a.m., 7 a.m., 6 a.m., 5 a.m., 4 a.m., 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 12 a.m. That's already that's that's 8 hours behind. Okay, this one is for Tokyo actually. This one I just did is for Tokyo. That's 8 hours ahead of us. We are 8 hours behind them. So the last session now, which is Sydney session is 10 hours ahead of us. That means we are 10 hours behind them. So when it's 8 a.m. Sydney time, it's actually 10 p.m. our time. So I don't know. I hope with this video you've been able to understand how to actually calculate forex market session easily. You don't have to do any calculation. Just without even doing any calculation, I'm doing this calculation to actually simplify it for you. But without doing any calculation, just take your mobile device, check the time, when we check the London time, 8 a.m. London time, whatever it is in your time, that's when London session starts. New York, 8 a.m. New York time, whatever it is in your time, that's when New York session starts. Then 8 a.m. Sydney time, whatever time it is in Sydney, 8 a.m., whatever time it is in your time, when it's 8 a.m. in Sydney, that's when Sydney session starts. Then when it's 8 a.m. in Tokyo, whatever time it is in your time, that's when Tokyo session starts. So that's it for this video. If you learned something new in this video, try to subscribe, smash the subscribe button, like the video, and share it to your friends. It's actually an update. I just discovered this. It took me 2 years to discover this, and you are just learning it in how many minutes video, in how many minutes. What it took me 2 years to discover. Normally, I used to find it difficult to actually tell when this session starts in my own time, in my local time. So, but this time around, I've shown you how to do it in just few minutes. You don't have to do any calculation. You have it right in your phone. You have the time of those cities in your phone, so you don't have to do any calculation. So that's it, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Share this video with your friends. Don't keep it alone. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your friends so that they can learn something new. They won't have to go through the hassle of doing calculation to know when London session wants to start, or to know when New York session wants to start. So that's it, guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Watch this video to see how I traded a $30 account, how I grew a $30 account. I'll catch you in the next video.